I thought it was a mistake when the package arrived. It had my address, but someone else's name. Inside were photos of a stranger, personal belongings I'd never seen, and a note that said, "Thank you for taking care of it." I checked the wallet. Inside was an ID for David Marsh, same face from the photos. The address matched mine, apartment 4B, but the issue date was printed as 3 months in the future. The package arrived on a Tuesday, and the name on the label wasn't mine. I stood in my doorway, turning the box over in my hands. My address, my apartment number, but the name read David Marsh. I'd lived here for 8 months. Inside, wrapped in tissue paper, I found a leather wallet, worn at the edges, 3 photographs, all of the same man, mid-30s, dark hair, standing in front of this building, my building. In one photo, he was at the kitchen window. My kitchen window. The angle was wrong, though. The window faced a brick wall now, but in the photo, it overlooked a courtyard I'd never seen. Beneath the photos was a note, handwritten on cream cardstock. "Thank you for taking care of it. I know you didn't ask for this, but it's yours now. You'll understand soon." That night I couldn't sleep. I kept looking at the photos, studying the background details. The kitchen in the image had the same layout as mine, the same faded green tiles. But the walls were marked with water stains I'd never noticed. I got up and examined my kitchen in the dark. Nothing. Clean walls, no stains. I went back to bed and finally drifted off around 4 a.m. The next morning, I saw the first stain. Faint, creeping down from the ceiling corner above the sink. I touched it. The plaster was damp, cold. I called the landlord. He said he'd send someone to check the pipes. No one came. The stain spread. By the second day, it had reached halfway down the wall, a dark, uneven blotch that seemed to pulse with moisture. I pressed my hand against it, and the plaster gave slightly, like pressing into wet clay. I pulled my hand back and found it covered in a fine red dust. That evening, I compared the kitchen to the photo again. The stain now matched the one in the image exactly. I tried to leave the apartment, but the hallway lights were out. All of them. I made it 3 steps before I heard the sound. A low, wet scraping from above, like something heavy being dragged across the floor of the apartment overhead. Except there was no apartment overhead. I was on the top floor. On the 3rd day, I woke to find water pooling beneath the kitchen sink. Not dripping, pooling, as if it had been accumulating for hours. I opened the cabinet and saw the pipes were intact, dry. The water was coming from inside the wall. I grabbed my phone to call someone, anyone, but my hands were shaking too much to hold it. It slipped, clattered against the counter, and slid into the pooling water. The shock hit me as I reached for it. I remember the jolt, the way my vision went white, the sensation of falling, even though I was already on the floor. I remember waking up in the hospital, a nurse telling me I was lucky, that my neighbor heard the crash and called for help. But I didn't have neighbors. The units on either side of mine were vacant. When I returned to the apartment a week later, the stain was gone. The walls were clean, the pipes dry. On my kitchen counter sat the wallet, the photos, and a new note. "Welcome home, David." I looked at my reflection in the dark window. For just a moment, I didn't recognize the face staring back. So, if you ever get mail for someone who isn't there yet, maybe don't open it. If this kept you up tonight, subscribe for more stories that shouldn't be true. Sleep well, if you can.